Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudhirayet Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhāgavata-sevayā Bhagavatuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devakinandanaaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. So reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 29, talks between Nārada and King Prācīnabarhi. Prācīnabarhi uvaca Bhagavamste vachosmabhir न सम्यग् अवगम्यते कवयस्तद्विजानन्ति न vayam karma mohitaha. King Prācīnabarhi replied, My dear Lord, you could not appreciate. Sorry, um, let me read from beginning. Sorry, 1 second. Prācīnabarhiruvaca Bhagavamste vachosmabhir samyak avagamyate kavayastad vijananti navayam karma mohitaha. King Prācīnabarhi replied, My dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story of King Puranjana. Actually, those who are perfect in spiritual knowledge can understand, but for us, who are overly attached to fruitive activities, to realize the purport of your story is very difficult. Narada Uvacha Purusham Puranjanam Vidyat Yad Vyanakti Atmanah Puram Ekadvitri Chatuspadam Bahupadam Apadakam. The great sage Narada Muni continued, You must understand that Puranjana, the living entity, transmigrates according to his own work into different types of bodies, which may be one-legged, two-legged, three-legged, four-legged, many-legged, or simply legless. Transmigrating into these various types of bodies, the living entity, as the so-called enjoyer, is known as Puranjana. Yo vignata hritastasya purushasya sakheswaraha yanna vignayate pumbir namabhirva kriya gunaihi. The person I have described as unknown is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Master and Eternal Friend of the living entity. Since the living entity cannot realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead by material names, activities, or qualities, he remains everlastingly unknown to the conditioned soul. यदा जिग्रक्षन् पुरुषः कार्त्स्नेयेन प्रकृतेर्गुणान् नवद्वारं द्विहस्ताङ्घ्रि तत्रामनुत साध्व इति. When the living entity wants to enjoy the modes of material nature in their totality, he prefers out of many bodily forms to accept the body which has 9 gates, 2 hands, and 2 legs. Thus, he prefers to become a human being or a demigod. बुद्धिं तु प्रमदां विद्यान् ममाहम् इति यत् कृतं याम् अधिष्ठाय गेहेऽस्मिन् पुमान् भुङ्क्ते क्षिभिर्गुणान्. The great sage Narada continued, The word pramada mentioned in this regard refers to material intelligence or ignorance. It is to be understood as such. When one takes shelter of this kind of intelligence, he identifies himself with the material body. Influenced by the material consciousness of I and mine, he begins to enjoy and suffer through his senses. Thus, the living entity is entrapped. Sakaya indriyagana jnanam karma cha yat kritam sakyastad vrittayah pranaha panchavittyator ragaha. The five working senses and the five senses that acquire knowledge are all male friends of Puranjani. The living entity is assisted by these senses in acquiring knowledge and engaging in activity. The engagements of the senses are known as girlfriends, and the serpent, which was described as having five heads, is the life air acting within the five circulatory processes. बृहद्बलं मनोविद्याद् उभयेन्द्रियनायकः पञ्चाला विषया यन्मध्ये नवकं पुरम्. The 11th attendant, who is the commander of the others, is known as the mind. He is the leader of the senses both in acquisition of knowledge and in the performance of work. The Panchala kingdom is that atmosphere in which the five sense objects are enjoyed. Within that Panchala kingdom is the city of the body which has nine gates. अक्षिणी नासिके कर्णौ मुखं शिश्नगुदौ इति द्वे द्वे द्वारो बहिर्याति यस्तत् इन्द्रियसंयुतः. The eyes, nostrils and ears are pairs of gates situated in one place. The mouth, genitals and rectum are also different gates. Being placed into the body having these nine gates, the living entity acts externally in the material world and enjoys sense objects like form and taste. अक्षिणी नासिके आस्यम् इति पञ्चपुरः कृताः दक्षिणा दक्षिणः कर्ण उत्तरा चोत्तरः स्मृतः पश्चिमे इति अधो द्वारौ गुदं शिश्नम् इहोच्यते. Two nostrils, two eyes, two nostrils, and a mouth, altogether five, are situated in the front. The right ear is accepted as the southern gate, and the left ear is the northern gate. The two holes or gates situated in the west are known as the rectum and genital organ. खद्योताविर्मुखी चात्र नेत्रे एकत्र निर्मिते रूपं विभ्राजितं ताभ्यां विचस्ते चक्षुषेश्वरः. चक्षुषेश्वरः. The two gates named uh, Khadyota and Avirmukhi, which have been spoken of, are the two eyes side by side in one place. The town named Vibhrajita should be understood as form. In this way, the two eyes are always engaged in seeing different kinds of forms. नलिनी नालिनी नाशे गन्धः सौरभ उच्यते घ्राणो वधूतो मुख्यास्यं विपनो वग रसविद रसः. The two doors named Nalini and Nalini should be known as the two nostrils, and the city named Shaurabha represents aroma. The companion spoken of as Avadhuta is the sense of smell. The door known as Mukhya is the mouth, and Vipana is the faculty of speech. Rasagna is the sense of taste. आपनो व्यवहारोऽत्र चित्रम् अंदो बहुदनं पितृहुर्दक्षिणः कर्ण उत्तरो देवहुः स्मृतः. The city called Apana represents engagement of the tongue in speech, and Bahudana is the variety of foodstuffs. The right ear is called the gate of Pitrus, and the left ear is called the gate of Devahu. प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च शास्त्रं पञ्चालसंनिहितं पितृयानं देवयानं श्रोत्राच्छ्रुता धराद् व्रजेत्. Narada Muni continued, the cities spoken of as Dakshina Panchala represent the scriptures meant for directing pravritti, the process of sense enjoyment in fruitive activities. The other city named Uttara Panchala represents the scriptures meant for decreasing fruitive activities and increasing knowledge. The living entity receives different kinds of knowledge by means of two ears, and some living entities are promoted to Pitraloka and some to Devaloka. All this is made possible by the two ears. आसुरी मेढ्रम् अर्वाग्द्वार व्यवायो ग्रामीणां रतिः उपस्थो दुर्मदः प्रोक्तो निर्ऋत् Nirtirguda Uchyate. The city called Gramaka, which is approached through the lower gate of Asuri, the genital organ, is meant for sex, which is very pleasing to common men, who are simply fools and rascals. The faculty of procreation is called Durmada, and the rectum is Nirriti. Vaishasham Narakam Payur उब्धको लुब्धकोऽन्धौ तु मे शृणु हस्तपादौ पुमां ताभ्यां युक्तो याति करोति च. When it is said that Puranjana goes to Vaishasha, it is meant that he goes to hell. He is accompanied by Lubdhaka, which is the working sense in the rectum. Formerly, I have also spoken of two blind associates. These associates should be understood to be the hands and legs. Being helped by the hands and legs, the living entity performs all kinds of work and moves hither and thither. अन्तःपुरं च हृदयं विषूचिर्मन उच्यते तत्र मोहं प्रसादं वा हर्षं प्राप्नोति तद्गुणैः. The word antahpura refers to the heart. The word vishuchina, meaning going everywhere, indicates the mind. Within the mind, the living entity enjoys the effects of the modes of material nature. These effects sometimes cause illusion, sometimes satisfaction, and sometimes jubilation. यथा यथा विक्रियते गुणाक्तो विकरोति वा यथा ततोपद्रष्टात्मा तद्वृत्तिरनुकार्यते. Formerly, it was explained that the queen is one's intelligence. While one is awake or asleep, that intelligence creates different situations, being influenced by contaminated intelligence. The living entity envisions sometimes and simply something and simply imitates the actions and reactions of his intelligence. देहोरतस्त्व इन्द्रियाश्वः संवत्सरयो गतिः द्विकर्म चक्रस्त्रिगुण ध्वजः पञ्चाशु बन्धुरः मनोरश्मिर्बुद्धिसूतो हृन्नीडो द्वन्द्वकूबरः प्रक्षेपः सप्तधातुवरूथकः आकूतिर्विक्रमो बाह्यो मृगतृष्णां प्रधावति एकादशेन्द्रियः चमुः पंचसूना vinodakrit. Narad Muni continued, what I referred to as the chariot was in actuality the body. The senses are the horses that pull the chariot. As time passes, year after year, these horses run without obstruction, but in fact, they make no progress. Pious and impious activities are the two wheels of the chariot. The three modes of material nature are the chariot's wheels, as flags. The five types of life air constitute the living entity's bondage, and the mind is considered to be the rope. Intelligence is the chariot driver. The heart is the sitting place in the chariot, and the duality of life, such as pleasure and pain, are no, knotting place. The seven elements are the coverings of the chariot, and the working senses are the five external processes. The 11 senses are the soldiers. Being engrossed in sense enjoyment, the living entity seated on the chariot hankers after fulfillment of his false desires and runs after sense enjoyment life after life. संवत्सरश्चण्डवेगः कालो येन फलक्षितः तस्याः नीह गन्धर्वा गन्धर्व्यो रात्र्यः स्मृता हरन्ति आयुः परिक्रान्त्य षष्ट्य उत्तरशतत्रयम्. What was previously explained as Chandavega, powerful time, is covered by days and nights named Gandharvas and Gandharvis. The body's lifespan is gradually reduced by the passage of days and nights within which number 360. Kalakanya jara sakshal lokastam navinandati swasaram yagre mrityuh Kshayaya Yavaneshwaraha. What was described as Kala Kanya should be understood as old age. No one wants to accept old age, but uh, Yavaneshwara, Yavana Raja, who is death, accepts Jara, old age, as his sister. आदयो व्याधयस्तस्य सैनिका यवनाश्चराः भूतोपसर्गाशुरयः प्रज्वाराद्विविधो ज्वरः एवं दैवभूतात्मसम्भवैः क्लिश्यमानः शतः वर्षं देहे देहि तमोवृतः प्राणेन्द्रियमनोधर्मान् आत्मा अध्यस्य निर्गुणः शेते कामलवान् ध्यायान् ममाहम् इति कर्म कृत्. The followers of Yamaraja are called the soldiers of death, and they are known as the various types of disturbances that pertain to the body and mind. Prajvara represents the two types of fevers, extreme heat and extreme cold, typhoid and pneumonia. The living entity lying down within the body is disturbed by many tribulations pertaining to providence, to the other living entities, and to his own body and mind. Despite all kinds of tribulations, the living entity, subjected to the necessities of the body, mind, and senses, and suffering from various types of disease, it is carried away by many plans due to his lust to enjoy the world. Although transcendental to this material existence, the living entity, out of ignorance, accepts all these material miseries under the pretext of false egoism, I and mine. In this way, he lives for 100 years within this body. Hare Krishna. So, yeah, so as Prācīnabarhi said, that I can't understand everything, whatever you have said. Maybe can you explain it better so that I can follow? So, in that way, we can see Narad Muni is once again telling to Prācīnabarhi about what he said about this Puranjani, about this Malayadvaja, all those different allegories that are given. So, Prācīnabarhi, in the first purport, it said, "My dear Lord, we could not appreciate completely the purport of your allegorical story. I think we are also struggling, yeah. So we are also struggling to understand. Oh, there's so much. It is so nice to relate the reality that we can perceive, but still, this is too much. Depending on how old are we and how sensitive have we been all these years, how much have we understood, experienced the world. Depending on that, we can appreciate what Narad Muni was telling. So, and yeah, all this is for in the end, the last verse of this chapter, one can understand this whole chapter of 29 is to understand how we are stuck in the material world because of what and all these things. So here we can see in the purport itself said that this 29th chapter describes that by too much attachment one becomes a woman in next life, and by a person who associates with the supreme personality of Godhead or his representative becomes free from all material attachment and is thus liberated. So we can see, yeah, here we can see women as prakriti. We don't have to really see that okay, why is in Bhagavatam we have so much um, described. Yeah, in some places we see that women are described as less intelligent. Yeah, the understanding there is it's not that they are less intelligent. It is to understand that they are very simple to accept the logic, to accept the logic. So rather they prefer to be simple and just make bhakti as simple as possible, make relations as simple as possible. That is one. And here when we are talking about attachment to women, here we see the nature. Yeah, we are talking about and how one should be very careful with women. This is nothing new. It's not only yeah, here we are elaborately discussing. This is the truth that is the reason why there is this Gurukula, where there is importance of brahmacharya, there is importance of chastity. All these things are taught for a good reason, because of the nature, nature's law. So, and then here goes further. Narad Muni is saying, okay, you must understand that this Puranjan has been transmigrating from one type of body to the another type. And in that regard, there was said one-legged animal or one-legged being. Who is that one-legged being? In the purport, it is said it is the ghosts. Hmm? It is said the word ekapada, one-legged, refers to ghost, for it is said that ghosts walk on one leg. Dvipada means meaning biped, human beings. When we are old and invalid, the human being is supposed to be tripped or three-legged because he walks with the help of a stick. Of course, the word Chatpada refers to quadruple or animals. Um, in fact, not in this purport, I read elsewhere in Ramayana, we see that Ravana, we know that he has 10 heads. Yeah, but how many legs he has? He has three legs, it is said. How it manifests, how doesn't manifest, I don't know, but that's the description said. So three-legged also is possible. And then four-legged is the animals. Then Bahupada is also mentioned where these centipedes and other insects are there which have so many legs. And then there is also mention of Apadaka, means without legs, refers to serpents. The serpents do not have legs. In this way, based on one's mentality for enjoyment in the material world is accommodated by different types of bodies. Different types of bodies are possible. Hmm? And the person I have described as unknown, avajñāta, avijñāta is the Supreme Lord. Hmm? So in the scriptures also we know that the Lord is appreciated or glorified, or his one of his names is Nirakar, one who doesn't has a form. Avijñata or Avan Manasa Gochara. All these are described in the scriptures. Actually, it is a fact that the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be perceived by material senses as far as his form, name, qualities, pastimes. However, when one is spiritually advanced, one can understand the name, form, qualities, pastimes, and paraphernalia of the Lord. Hmm? Krishna himself is saying, Bhaktyama vijanati. Yavan yas chasmi tatvatah. So when one understands, a devotee can understand the Lord in true sense. So when we are saying nirakara, akara means he doesn't have a form which is material in nature, but he has a complete form, vigraha, uh, means a form, swarupa means a form, he has a transcendental form. Hmm. Uh, so it goes further. Sachit Ananda Vigraha. And in fact, in Padma Puran, it is said, Ata Sri Krishna Namadi na bhaved grahyam indriya sevonmukhe jihvado swayam eva spurati ada. One cannot understand the Lord. It's not at all possible without whatever, whether male, female, whether Brahmana or no, it doesn't matter. We cannot understand. Only when Atah Sri Krishna Nama, no one can understand Krishna as he is by uh, utilizing the blunt material senses. One cannot do. However, the Lord reveals himself to his devotees if he is pleased. Being pleased with them because of their transcendental loving service rendered unto him, then the Lord himself reveals. Otherwise, there is no question. That is the reason we also know Krishna is also called Adhokshaja. Akshaja means senses or the eyes. Adhokshaja means beyond the sense perception. We can't understand with our material senses. In this verse, the word pumbhir, namabhir, va, kriya, gunai are especially significant because God, Krishna, has many names, activities, and qualities, although none of them are material. Mm. And I mean, for us to flow through the purports, yeah, we'll go a little faster, but all these are very deeply explained. The philosophy of bhakti or the science of bhakti is explained in the purports. So feel free to go through them again and appreciate. And then it is said, unless Prabhupada writes, unless one is properly trained, he becomes a victim of the modes of material nature. So one should guard. That's why in this verse it's mentioned. Avijnata is ignorance. Avijnata is the unknown person whom we can't see. It is not he doesn't exist. It is that our eyes are blind, our senses are blunt and imperfect, due to which we cannot see him. Prakriti krimanani gunakarmani sarvasaha. It is said, bewildered by the three modes of material nature. One is thinking that I am the doer, but in fact, uh, it is the fall. As soon as one desires to enjoy his senses, he puts himself under the control of material energy, and that's why he takes form, one leg, two leg, three leg, four leg, or many legged being. Hmm. And then Narad Muni is saying, hey, in when I was describing about pramada, pramada means material intelligence, and uh, material intelligence is equal to ignorance. In the translation 5, it's clearly said metal. It is referred to metal intelligence or ignorance. It is to be understood as such. When one takes shelter of this kind of intelligence, he identifies himself with metal body, influenced by the consciousness of I and mine. Then what happens? He suffers or enjoys, and he is trapped. And how to be free from that? One should have buddhi, not false intelligence, not material, not material intelligence or ignorance. One should have buddhi yoga. In the Chatushloka, Krishna is saying, Bhagavad Gita 10:10, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayanti te. So, Tesham satata yuktanam, one who is conscious and always constantly devoted and worship, bhajatam priti purvakam, with love, dadami buddhi yogam tam. To him I will give the buddhi yogam tam. Yena mam upayantite. I give that understanding by which he can come. Yena mam upayantite. He can come to me, back to Godhead. So this pramada, it goes further in the purport. In this verse as pramada, because in material existence, the living entity falsely claims things to be his. He thinks, I am the monarch of all I survey. This is ignorance. And yeah, so this moha, janasya mohoyam aham mameti, this mamata, this mameta, both are the sense of possessiveness. Mine, I, is all illusion. Jnanam karma chaya sakhaya indriya gana. And then the five working senses, five senses that acquire knowledge, are my male friends of Puranjani. Hmm? And in the purport, Krishna is right, Prabhupada is writing, Krishna bahirmukha hana bhoga vancha kare nikata stha maya tare japatiya dhare. This is very, very important for us to understand. Because of his desire to enjoy the material world, the living entity is dressed with material gross and subtle bodies. Thus, he is given a chance to enjoy the senses. The senses are therefore the instruments for enjoyment. Huh? But one should understand, panchavritti is the desire, vritti is the desire to satisfy the senses, attracted by pancha, five sense objects, namely form. We like something beautiful, seeing in form, touch. When we feel, wow, this is so nice, warm, or yeah, when we drink cold water, satisfying. So all these things, this touch, taste, sound, smell, these are five sense objects. And and then this 11th attendant, who is the commander of all these, is mind. This Panchala, the Panchala kingdom is that atmosphere in which the five sense objects are enjoyed. Within the Panchala kingdom is a city of body which has 9 gates. As we have covered in the last chapter, so we understand these eyes, nostrils, and ears are pairs of gates situated in one place. The mouth and genitals are and rectum are also different gates. And in this way, in Prabhupada writes, not being aware of his spiritual position, the living entity directed by mind goes out through the 9 gates to enjoy metal objects. Because of long association with metal objects, he forgets his real spiritual activities and is thus misled. Thus, the conditioned soul becomes more and more entangled. And in this way, Then there is also further description about what is about eyes, nose, and all together. What is the southern gate? What is the northern gate? Yeah, there's very important gates in the body. The gates on the eastern side, which are eyes, nose, and mouth, are important. There are gates from the southern side. There are gates on the ears, which become the southern and northern gate, and they take one to Pitraloka or Devaloka, by how one is engaging. And then there is this town named Vibhrajita, should be understood as the form. I will not go in detail, um, but yeah, Avadhuta here is mentioned. Avadhuta, the companion spoken of as Avadhuta, is the sense of smell. Prabhupada writes, the word Avadhuta means most free. A person is not under the rules and regulations of any injunction when he has attained the stage of Avadhuta. In other words, he can act as he likes. This Avadhuta stage is exactly like air, which does not care of any obstruction. Chanchalam hi manah Krishna pramati balam vad dridham tasyaham nigraham manye vayor iva sudukshanam sudushkaram, sorry. Hmm. So it's very difficult. So just as the air or wind cannot be checked by anyone, the two nostrils situated in one place enjoy the sense of smell without impediment. Sometimes we also ask, of course, we know um, to control, yeah, how to control eyes. There is this eyelids, yeah, and anyway, what about ears? Sometimes, yeah, we are not so serious because something goes from this ear, this goes from this ear. But what about nostrils? Yeah, they are freely to, yeah, we need to anyway inhale, exhale. There is no choice. You can close your ears, you can close your eyes, but what about nostrils? Yeah, you can't. Yeah. And then what is happening is these two nostrils situated in one place enjoy the sense of smell without impediment. When the tongue is present, the mouth continually tastes all kinds of relishable foodstuffs. Apano vyavaharotra. And yeah, so and then verse 13 is very important. It is describing about two kinds of activities. What is that? Pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha. Pravrittim means activities which are conducted, uh, prescribed for sense enjoyment. After all, yeah, the Lord has created this world because we desire to enjoy, uh, but then He has said, okay, enjoy, but in a regulated, responsible way. And this is what Pravritti Marg, that one who understands, who starts doing, satisfying himself, will come to a state where yeah, I appreciate because all this is possible because of God, and slowly gradually comes to the platform of Nivritti Marga. Nivritti Marga, the process of detachment. So this Dakshina Panchala is this Pravritti Marga, and Uttara Panchala is the Nivritti Marga. Huh? Meant for decreasing fruitive activities and increasing knowledge. The living entity receives different kinds of knowledge by means of two ears. Yeah, sorry. And some living entities are promoted to Pitraloka or Devaloka. Huh? So here, um, in the purport, it is said, as stated in Bhagavad Gita, one can be promoted to the planets of the demigods or the planets of Pitraloka or even to Vaikuntha simply through the process of hearing. So hearing is so important. In fact, it is said the only function, I mean, the Gyanendriyas, yeah, one of the Gyanendriya that survives the most, yeah, or is only functional, yeah, as one grows older and older. Maybe other things may not function, but it is said that the ear will function or should function, so that one can hear. So important is hearing process that decides where one is going. Yeah, the city of Gramaka, which is approached through the lower gates of Asuri, is meant for sex, which is very pleasing to common men who are simply fools and rascals. Yeah, I think we covered about that. But what I want to mention in the purport, there is a mention about Vrindavan. Let me go there. The word Durmada means wrongly directed, and Niritti means sinful activity. Although this clearly indicates that sex indulgence is abominable and misdirected, even for from ordinary point of view, the Sahajiyas nonetheless pass themselves off as devotees conducting spiritual activities. And very important for us to remember is for this reason, Vrindavan is no longer visited by intelligent men. We are often asked why we have made our why our center in Vrindavan. From the external point of view, it can be concluded that Vrindavan has become degenerate due to these Sahajiya activities. Yet, from the spiritual point of view, Vrindavan is the only place where all these sinful persons can be rectified by means of taking birth in the form of dogs, hogs, and monkeys. By living in Vrindavan as dog, hog, or monkey, the living entity can be elevated to the spiritual platform in the next life. Yeah, as a side note to understand. So we may see here when there is so much degradation, when there is so much what do you call this? Cheating sometimes, yeah, yeah, that we may see someone acts like a sadhu or someone is behaving, but yeah, we can see in last few years how in Vrindavan things have um, gone down in the spirit of pure devotion, in pure service, etc. And where there is Sahajiya mentalities, where they think that we are gopis, they think that we are Krishnas, Angas, we are think that we are associates of the Lord and all these things. So, but still, why a center is set up there? And this is mentioned. Yeah, Vrindavan, of course, is one who can have the divine vision of transcendentally seeing things, can still see Vrindavan as it is. Okay, then there is this description of the nine gates goes further, and um, then formally it was explained that queen is one's intelligence. Yeah, while one is awake or asleep, we know that when is one is awake or in sleep, intelligence creates different situations. Being influenced by contaminated intelligence, the living entity envisions something and simply imitates the actions and reactions of his intelligence. So, uh, I don't know if Adira Saprabhu, you are here. So this is in the purport we see the queen of Puranjana is described here as intelligence itself. Intelligence acts both in the dream state and in the awakening state and in the waking state, but it is contaminated by the three modes of material nature. Since the intelligence is contaminated, the living entity is also contaminated. In the conditioned state, the living entity acts according to his contaminated intelligence. Although he simply remains an observer, he nonetheless acts being forced by a contaminated intelligence, which in reality is a passive agent. And then it goes further. This chariot analogy is described, which is covering this fourth chapter, fourth canto, 26th chapter. In the beginning, the whole description about is mentioned. There's this. Um, what is the wheels, what are the horses, what is the rope, what is the driver of the chariot, and what is this post to which the ropes are tied, and all these things, and who are the soldiers, and everything is described. Yeah, and yeah, then there is this description about Chandavega, attack on the city. It is mentioning about Hmm. This days and nights, Gandharvas, Gandharvis, and his all soldiers who are actually eating up the time, Chanda Vega, the powerful time. As one goes older and older, yeah, the youth is fading and fading, and one becomes weaker and weaker, and the struggle of this five life airs and all these things, the body becomes weak, the fort becomes weaker, all this is described. So this is what is parikrantya means by traveling. The living entity travels on his chariot day and night during the day, year of consisting 360 days. Life's progress is taken for the unnecessary labor required to cover these 360 days and nights of life. Kala Kanya Jara Sakshat. So this Kala Kanya that is referred here should be understood as old age. Uh, no one wants accept old age, but Yavaneshwara, who is the death, accept Jara as uh, his sister. Hmm. Uh, so that is also covered. And finally, yeah, Adhaya, Adayo, Vyadayas, Tasya, and disease. Yeah, disturbance of mind and diseases, types of disturbances that pertain to body and mind. Uh, Prajvara represent two types of fevers, typhoid and pneumonia. And the living entity lying down within the body is disturbed by many tribulations uh, pertaining to providence, to other living entities, and to his own body and mind. These three tapatraya, three kinds of sufferings, miseries one goes through. Uh, and this is mm, Adi Bhautika, Adi Daivika, Adhyatmika, it's mentioned also in the purport. Miseries brought out by other living entities are Adi Bhautika, other Bhautika, other beings. There are also miseries in the form of famine, pestilence, scarcity, war, earthquakes, and so on. These are caused by the demigods and other sources beyond our control. Actually, there are many enemies of living entities, and these all are described to point out how miserable this material existence is. Hmm. So it brings us to the point that if he simply withdraws from activities of sense gratification and applies his senses in the service of Lord, all the problems of material existence will immediately diminish. With the advancement of Krishna consciousness, he will be freed from all tribulations, and after giving up the body, he will go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Mataji. So we will cover second part of the chapter tomorrow from 26 to 33. If one would like to read and be, yeah, pre-reading is always welcome. Yeah, that's what we will cover. Yeah, maybe till even 40, 25 to 40, and then the remaining part. So far, any thoughts or comments, questions someone has?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank
Hare
you very much for explaining. As I missed few last chapters, so I'm still trying to catch up the story and things. But in last 2 days, the there is a very distinct differences I observed. Like yesterday, you're talking about Puranjana, who is like a very much depiction of like Buddhajib, and today you described the inquisitiveness of King Prācīnabarhi. He was inquiring about the path of liberation, and Narad Muni was explaining.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know, like, is it really possible to very quickly
Yeah.
tell who are they, this Puranjan and Prācīnabarhi?
Okay. So the story characters are Puranjani, yeah, Malaya Dwaja, all. But the real character is Prācīnabarhi. Prācīnabarhi is one of the Prajapatis. He is the Prajapati and real Prajapati. He's not a Narad Muni didn't create so what happened is King Prācīnabarhi, who is very successful doing lot of animal sacrifices so that he can have a great materialistic life or happy materialistic life, and at the same time for the well-being of the people, he took to the Pravritti Marga. And then he had sons. He had 10 sons called Prachetas. And he
Uh-huh.
asked Prachetas, very soon now you are ready for marriage. And then Prachetas take permission from their father that okay, then we will go to the forest and do some penances and austerities so that we become qualified to become a householder. Huh? So when they go out, then they come across Lord Shiva. When they come across Lord Shiva at a lake, yeah, who is just coming out from the lake, yeah, then it was very special because usually it's not possible such great personalities like Lord Shiva are visible unless they want to bless them, and in that way, Lord Shiva has blessed Prachetas, the sons, saying, "Hey, you are so nice. You are all together, brothers, and appreciate that you are doing this." So, in that time, Lord Shiva gives a mantra which is called Rudra Gita. He sings the glories of Lord Shiva that he heard from Lord Brahma, and that is what Prachetas. Uh,
Mhm.
then, after knowing that, they engage in that tapasya. While this was happening, Narad Muni he wanted to bless the king who was so much engrossed in doing this all karmakandiya activities. So he comes and he starts telling, "Hey Rajan, I am telling you a story." And in that story, he creates all these characters, and and now he is clarifying what these characters represent.
Okay. Okay. So this Puranjana is also a character in the Narad Muni
Yes.
story.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. But while you were asking, very interesting question came, yeah, when we are telling Puranjana is one who is encaged in the material body and interested in material things, and how come
Mhm.
that Prācīnabarhi was asking all these things, yeah.
Mhm.
So when I don't know if you have asked that, but at least that brought up one point that when Narad Muni comes, yeah, so yeah, when saintly people, when great Vaishnavas come in our life, they bless us, bringing this value so that, yeah, we may initially may not appreciate, yeah, like Prachin Barishad also might be thinking, hey, okay, yeah, but I'm so much interested. No, but the respect that Prachin Barishad gave to Narad Muni, hearing to all these things have brought transformation. So when we are
Uh-huh.
also hearing to these saintly people when what they are speaking about Krishna consciousness, and when we apply that, of course, it's not we are interested initially, but when we just like a medicine, though it is very bitter, we take it. uh, though an operation is very painful, but we still go through it. Similarly, a treatment, yeah, so is Shravanam. This when Narad Muni is speaking, and then that has sterilized the heart and mind of Prācīnabarhi. That's what happens. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Thank you,
Okay.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, thank you. Gaurav Prabhu, hope this today is little slower and maybe little follow. One could follow, or you could follow. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Today I tried, but also
Same
this
thing.
is
Yeah.
this is yeah. I mean, for me it is fast to say, but maybe this is the other way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I think we in these, especially in this part of Bhagavata, we have a lot of information, definitely. And it is, I could say this is just like, yeah, these few chapters can be one 6 months, one semester, one year syllabus. Hmm?
Mhm.
And we are going in a like a, yeah, like Japanese go on a world tour, right? Touring the world in 10 days or
Yeah.
I think we are going a bit fast. We will not be able to grasp everything and may not even understand everything. Yeah, but attempt here is to appreciate the glories of Bhagavatam. Yeah, that Bhagavatam has all these. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And moreover, we thoroughly, I mean, in deep, we will discuss on weekends, especially on Saturday morning,
Yeah.
which
I think you are
slokas.
joining, right?
Yeah.
Saturdays.
Yes. Sometimes yes. Mostly maybe this Saturday, not next. I will join.
Yeah, yeah. So we go here, we are little faster. Yeah, fast track. Mainly, as I said, the purpose here is to have every day serving Srimad Bhagavatam in a way that we are going from Canto 1, Chapter 1 gradually, and yeah, understand what is the greatness of Bhagavatam. To appreciate the greatness is the main focus. Once we appreciate the greatness, then whenever we want, whatever, wherever shelter we want to take, yeah, we don't think something else but Bhagavatam. So that's where we will be going towards. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay, then yeah, thank you so much for joining. See you tomorrow. Vanchakalpatarabhyascha kripa sindhubhyev च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय. निताय गौर प्रेमानंद. हरे कृष्ण.
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna.
Guru.